7:51 this morning. Pretty sad for a lot of people, whether you're a fan of Anthony Bourdain, maybe you follow food, food media. You know, that is a category. And our very own Lafayette food junkie, Tiffiany is in that category. So the news had to be shocking for you this morning.
It was the first thing that I saw when I woke up this morning. I'm actually running behind because of it. When I started the food blog, he was a hero of mine. And when I started the food blog, I mean, everyone wanted to be him. You know, everyone in food media, that's who they aspire to be, is Anthony Bourdain. And I'm still in shock. Of anyone that I would think that this would happen to, for it to happen to him. I'm in shock. And I think the biggest thing that he taught me was that when you understand a culture's food, you understand the people of that culture. And I love that he took it from that perspective, because it really opened my eyes about how I view food and the history of food and where it comes from, and then the people that are associated with that food. It was so much more like, yes, the food is a part of it, but the people of that culture are just as important.
Yep. And you see people, he would go to places where it was like a family affair to cook a meal.
Right.
You know, and you really see that, you know, maybe the food's all right, but what is really great was all the people who come together and all the history of why you do things. So he was in Acadiana for Mardi Gras. He spent 3 days, shot an episode of Parts Unknown. The new season just premiered last month. So the episode from Louisiana
hasn't even aired yet. It's supposed to be at the end of this month.
I would bet just because of how this happened, advertisers are going to pull out things that's going to have to be made. I mean, I think, honestly, airing the rest of a completed season is probably an honor. They
may just push it back, is what I would think. They may not have it on the air for a little bit and push it back. You know what? Recently, the People article came out about him being at Popeyes, and I remember reading that article, and one of the pictures in there was him sitting alone at the Popeyes table, and I remember looking at it and thinking, this is so depressing, because as a fan, you think that it's amazing and that there's all this great things that come with it, but it's also incredibly isolating and lonely, and you're separated from your family and friends, and it's a lot to have the limelight on you for so long. So waking up to the news this morning and then thinking back to that picture, it's a whole, you see it in a whole other way.
So you were mentioning too his history with drug addiction.
Yeah. So, anyone who is a fan of the restaurant industry knows that substance abuse is a huge part of it, just because the restaurant industry is so fast-paced. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of burnout. Your hours are weird. You're, again, isolated from everyone that you love in your life, because the hours that you're working, are the hours that you would normally be with your family. So when he was a young chef, he had, I think it started with cocaine and it went to heroin. I read if you read his books, he doesn't hide those facts. But he was a heroin addict at one time, and I'm just waiting to see when the autopsy comes out if they're going to say exactly, because they just said suicide, and I know that if you're a previous heroin user and you go a number of years without using heroin and you shoot up again, it can cause you to overdose, and it's ruled a suicide. So I'm just wondering if that was how. His friend, Chef Eric Repair, is actually the one who found him in a hotel room. I believe they were in Paris. So I'm just, as more news comes out, I'm interested to see if he began using drugs again.
Well, it's funny. The one thing that stood out to me, I think we are so lucky, and I've been such a huge supporter of you on the station, because I think telling the stories, getting the background information, and I mean, obviously it's my station, but I listen every single Sunday. I mean, it's just so interesting, and I'm so happy we have someone to tell those stories. But I start to think about, is there someone that's waiting in the wings that could fill the void? And I can't think of someone who can do it like him.
I don't know everyone, he was such an amazing storyteller, and I don't think that those shoes can be filled. Many have tried, and they're not him. Like, that's what, he was a chef, but I think he's been in food media now longer than he was a chef. And I think that that's what his role was supposed to be in life.
Like a few weeks ago, there was an episode, and I believe they were in Greece, somewhere Mediterranean like that, where they're sitting on the edge of a cliff on the Mediterranean. It looks great.
Sure.
And one of the things was like this fish broth. And I love that he was not ever ashamed. Like, he would eat everything and really appreciate it, but he would say, like, that's an acquired taste. Like, I don't know. That may not be my thing. It's just boiled fish, you know?
And he could be so truthful, and it was less
not
biting.
Insulting.
Right.
Yeah, it wasn't insulting.
Because it used to kind of be at some point.
He's kind of snarky, and I mean, that's what he was known for. What's funny is I was watching Parts Unknown last night. I had it on as background noise, and then my boyfriend had actually sent me a quote from Anthony Bourdain last night as well, and this was the quote that he had sent me. I understand there's a guy inside me who wants to lay in bed, smoke weed all day, and watch cartoons and old movies. My whole life is a series of stratagems to avoid and outwit that guy. And I also think that that's pointed to the news this morning.
God, and it is, and I can't even imagine how you overcome something like heroin addiction.
Right. And I mean, in the restaurant industry, in the food world, there's a mental illness epidemic. There's substance abuse. I mean, the sexual harassment that went around, and then suicide rates are, are high as well. I began grad school in January for mental health counseling, and one of my goals upon graduation and licensing is to set up some sort of affordable mental health counseling for those in the restaurant industry in Louisiana, in Acadiana specifically, to kind of help combat this, because I don't want to wake up to any more stories of this chef had a overdose and this or this chef killed themselves. Like, I don't want to see that anymore.
I never knew there was a higher rate in the restaurant world.
So, but think about this, because a lot of them are not full-time employees, so a lot of them don't necessarily have access to health care.
Right. And then also, I mean, we're very food-centric now in the nation, and that puts more pressure on a young chef, too. Like, oh, my God, my food has to be Instagram worthy, and, like, this critic has to say this, and this critic has to say that. Not to mention, like, the drug use is big. And, I mean, again, that's stress. That's dealing with not being able to see your family and loved ones. That's the long hours. And, I mean, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah,
so
I would imagine.
Does this change for you, your focus or your drive to continue what you do as the food junkie?
No, I mean, I have like the mental health counseling thing that kind of developed. And when I started, like, I made a decision last year after my own struggles with mental illness to go back into counseling. I have a bachelor's in psychology, so it's kind of like always been there. And I started the program wanting to go in one direction, and after the end of my first semester, food kept coming up so much in the classroom, and it kind of hit me, and I was like, this goes together, like food and counseling can kind of work, and I'm wanting to develop programs using cooking as a tool to help those with depression and anxiety issues. And then again, the mental health services for those in the restaurant industry.
So, and it is twofold, at least for what you're showing, a lot of foods, and, this is kind of the natural health sort of thing, but if people listening right now are going, yeah, they get that, because a lot of foods can have a tremendous impact on lowering the inflammation in your body, so it helps you to feel a little bit better. Food gives you endorphins, so if you, can use it in medicinal ways, then it can be, an access point for you, not only for your physical health, but your mental well-being as well. And it's a tough issue because there's still so much stigma associated with it.
The Lafayette Food Junkie is here with us, Tiffiany Decou, as we are covering the death of Anthony Bourdain, 61 years old, host of Parts Unknown on CNN. We're not even a full month into the brand new season. It remains to be seen what happens with the rest of the season. At this point, the death preliminarily being called a suicide at a hotel in France. Tiffiany is still here with us, but on the phone, Paul Kieu, local photographer, gets to see so many great events up close and personal, gets to share what he sees through the lens with us. And one of the things he got to do was spend some time with Bourdain. I think you even brought your mom to meet him. I know that was a big goal, dream of him. Tell us about your experience, Paul, around Mardi Gras this year.
Yeah, so I didn't have a whole lot of time with Bourdain this year. We got to chat for a few minutes while he was here. A bunch of my friends were being interviewed with him, so just naturally I ended up in the same vicinity as him over the weekend that he was here. Around Mardi Gras time, Mardi Gras weekend specifically. So Saturday night we go out to Toby Rodriguez's property out in Arnaville or Grand Coteau, and me and my friends are shucking oysters, and Anthony Bourdain walks up, and it was kind of I was kind of taken aback at the time. It was something I'd never expected to happen, and to see this A-list celebrity walk up and just kind of chat with us and just share his experiences with us, and we got to share food with Anthony Bourdain, and he was very cordial and very nice, and we just sat and we talked for a few minutes, and then he was obviously the man of the hour, so he had a lot of other people to talk to. But it was really cool. Bourdain has been somebody I looked up to for the past however long I've been watching his shows since No Reservations. So it's kind of inspired. I kind of slept in a little this morning, so I woke up to a bunch of texts about it. It's really sad. He really inspired my career in storytelling and journalism, and he really taught me that the traveling and seeing the country and seeing the world doesn't have to be a 5-star resort with these crystal clear beaches. It could be anywhere with grimy, dirty street meat, ready to eat on the corner of just some slum. It's fine. Everybody has a story, and that was something that I'll always remember from the show.
One thing that Tiffiany brought up when we started talking about it is she was talking about the way he turned a show that was about food to be about food and what it means to culture and how you can see culture. Do you think he got a good taste? You pretty much said it. You weren't at a 5-star restaurant with Anthony Bourdain. You were on someone's property in Grand Coteau eating oysters.
Yeah, we were at our friend's property, and people were dancing in the mud.
Right.
And there was some crawfish going, and we were shucking oysters, and some other people were grilling meats and stuff. And it was, the food was objectively very delicious, but it wasn't like a very glamorous setting, and that was never the vibe that I got off of his TV shows. And it was nice to see that was something we put together, just to see for the episode, which I believe was supposed to air on Father's Day on the 17th, correct?
We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah, like you said, we'll see. We'll have to see what happens. Unfortunately, with this latest issue, it just goes to show you. Between this and Kate Spade, you never know what these high caliber celebrities are going through. So it's tough.
And I'm glad that you brought that up yet again, because we were just saying it before the top of the hour a few minutes ago, and there unfortunately still is a stigma with mental health issues. Tiffiany was talking about her struggles with it, especially in the last year or so. I have battled depression pretty much my whole life, and I think people want to put other people in a box where it fits, and that's only people who are weak, and unfortunately for people who are struggling like that, they unfortunately can get tunnel vision basically, and they can't see the things around them, and they feel like they can't reach out to people, and it's a shame, and especially in Louisiana where we do not have enough resources for mental health care.
Yeah, and it's absolutely a shame. I studied psychology was a minor in college, so I had to academically study mental illness and depression and disorders such as that. So it's kind of interesting to see such high profile suicides over the past year and a half, 2 years or whatever. It's really discouraging, I guess, and really unfortunate that these people have to be I guess that they see no other way out. And I guess for anybody listening, there is a reason to be around. We still believe in you. So
yeah,
it's just if they're struggling with that, then everybody's struggling.
Oh, yeah,
with that.
who is not?
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
so,
who's not? Yeah, these people have the means, So
yeah.
and it's unfortunate that people without means, are struggling silently too.
That's right. Now, Paul, Tiffiany was mentioning before, and I had a discussion a couple of months ago, just not, people think we're one way in a particular setting, in the sense that here is Lafayette, and it's a great place to live, but just like any other community, it has its issues, and the heroin epidemic is huge, unfortunately, in our area. Tiffiany was talking about, the server setting, and not having access to care, whether it's drug care, help or whatever. You're in a lot of social situations. I'm sure you hear a lot of stories about situations like this, whether it's drug abuse, whether it's, suicide, depression, et cetera. It's a lot bigger of a problem, I think, than people realize about our community.
Yeah, and it's always just something that's kind of, the people just don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's really sad. People don't want to talk about it, or it's a coping mechanism to where you just want to ignore it. You just want to ignore the fact that it actually happened, or any type of solution, because you just want it to go away. So with that said, I think with these of course high profile deaths this week, it's been it's a good way to renew the conversation. It's never a conversation that's gonna end until we kind of get this under control.
Yeah.
And it's really unfortunate that that people with means, if they can't be helped, what's there to say?
Yeah, if you could choose to get help, and you don't. Hey, Paul, you had a really great experience. I wanted to talk to you just to hear about it. I'm so happy you got to experience him. I've seen him a couple times at CNN. Very nice guy to everyone, and I'm also happy you got to share that with your mom, which is really cool too. So thanks for getting up, and I'm sorry. I was one of those people, by the way, that sent texts like, call me, can we talk to you? And then as soon as I looked down, I'm like, wait, no, Rob, you've only been up for 4 hours, but it's only like 6:50. So anyway, hey, thanks, Paul, for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Rob.
All right. So, it's a huge conversation. It doesn't need to stop today because it's a problem that doesn't look like it's fixing itself. I just hope that I really have my fingers crossed that the network lets the rest of them play, because now the rest of the season has so much more meaning.
Right.
You kind of look at different things.
I would assume,
especially on Father's Day. He had
probably will.
I think a teenage daughter.
She was like 10 or 12.
Okay.
Yeah, she was youngish, and I mean that's also heartbreaking to me.
Yeah.
Well, Tiffiany, we appreciate you coming in, and what you do each and every week. We get to have really fun conversations about food and different things. And today, I'm so happy to hear that you were inspired by him, because, I mean, it shows. It's great, and we're happy that you're on our team.
Yeah, that you're passionate about it. Good stuff.